We will be inviting Lachlan McEwen up, who will also bring his own homeowner story. Now, Lachlan is somewhat of a hybrid professional. He has worked within the architectural industry for over 15 years, specializing in building information modeling, BIM, on numerous projects within a range of commercial firms. This private residence exemplifies his personal endeavor to focus on his true passion of creating environmentally friendly buildings as a means to embrace the challenge of living by design. Through his presentation, you'll kind of get a sense that this isn't his first rodeo in regards to home design and building, but we'll see what he can bring to the table. Welcome, Lachlan.
So this presentation is mostly, like all the stuff that's up here is mostly technical, and I'll run through that. But listening to everyone's talks, I've had a lot of thoughts going through my mind about where I sit on the spectrum, and obviously a lot of, like on the ESD spectrum. And I sort of look at this logo, this ASBN logo, and it's a beautiful logo. Well done to the graphic designer who came up with that one, because obviously it represents the scale of, you know, light green through to deep green. You know, how green are you? It's not a competition, but if it were, this presentation is about sitting somewhere in the middle. So I guess like the strawbale house that we saw that started the presentations off was really fabulous. I guess it represents that very deep green aspiration to getting your hands dirty, getting fully versed in what's required in building a fabulous strawbale house in that case, or a fabulous fully efficient deep green project. There are so many variables in building though, and in design, and you if you haven't already been, I'm talking preaching to the choir, but I guess some of you don't have the experience that others of us do have here. So I guess I just wanted to discuss the ideas of like getting versed in the process. There's so much to learn. But ultimately, the learnings that I've come up with is that, a little bit as Matt was saying from Davis and Davis before, that the most sustainable house is a house that you don't build. Building costs a lot of energy, full stop. So on one hand, people get carried away with embodied energy. Great, that's a big problem, you know. But there's so much embodied energy in everything we do. So if we're going to build a house, what gives it longevity? So this project that I'm talking about now, if I ever get to speeding up, because is really about doing something a little bit more commercial, a little bit more urban, and I guess I'll make a comparison initially. If you want to jump to the first slide, you've probably read that boring part. The first house that I built was a strawbale house, and I tried to break with tradition a little bit there by, you can see it's got no eaves. If anyone's done strawbale before, they'd be like, oh, no eaves, no eaves. Yeah, that presented a challenge, doing no eaves. I won't go on about the technicalities of that went a little bit awry, but doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You just got to do it right. The builder that I built with was a bit of a hippie, and I love hippies, but his hippie attitude was what actually destroyed the process. Let's just say, I'm not bitter. But I loved this house. It was a wonderful house to occupy. Strawbale is absolutely phenomenal, and if I was building my dream house, I would probably do strawbale or hempcrete, quite frankly. But so anyway, in coming up with design principles for the new house, I thought to myself, okay, keeping it simple, what is a brief from an average client? You know, affordable, sustainable, functional. Longevity is obviously a big question. Maintenance is a big issue, something I found with this house. I did lots of timber, I did timber windows. Do you know how many times I revarnished those front windows? Like a lot, because I wanted to keep it looking beautiful, and they were exposed. So yeah, timber is a bit of a pain in the bum, quite frankly, but it's obviously more eco-friendly than metal. Should it look like a hippie house? I think potentially if you like hippie houses, but maybe the average person doesn't. So I love straw bale, I love rammed earth, I'd probably do it. Is it actually sustainable? Big question mark over that one. A lot of you probably looked at rammed earth and went, yeah, I want to do rammed earth. Maybe problematic. I love shipping containers. I set out to do a shipping container design house. Big problems if you don't know about shipping container houses. I'm not sure if anyone's, maybe raise hand. Who's considered shipping containers? Who's gone through that? Yeah, great thought. Has anyone gone, damn. They're really problematic. So reality is shipping containers are great to ship in, do something with, leave it there, turn it into a garden shed, as far as I can tell. Sorry, next slide. So there's lots of things with shipping containers. I really wanted to do a shipping container design. Doesn't work very well dimensionally. Modifications mean you basically rip the container apart, so there's no point. Insulation is a pain in the bum. Cladding options are a pain in the bum. Cost of prefabrication, slight delivery is high. It's just endless. So probably just park that idea if you've ever thought about it. So I came to SIPs, and what are SIPs? Structurally insulated panels. They give a seamless thermal envelope. So one of the other things I was going to make a point about before in terms of ESD is that there's probably 3 key principles in doing ESD right in the very basic terms, which is orientation, insulation, and orientation. I can't actually think of the other one I was going to say, but orientation is so important. If you can get the right orientation, you are sort of 60% to 70% of the way there. I'm getting the hurry up already. So I thought to myself, so the reason I was putting all this information in there is because I'm not sure if anyone's found out about SIPs, but they are a whole new product coming out of the US. The US has been doing it for like 20 years. They make a lot of sense. The speed of erection is fantastic if you've got the right builder, but they present a whole bunch of technical challenges. I thought, okay, I'm going to get this beautiful prefab building, a little bit like that illustration there. I thought I'm going to get these SIPs brought to me on site and we'll just bang them up. Reality is that costs a whole lot more. We can probably flip to the next slide. I think actually flip one more again because it's the same points in this one. So I got to the end of my design. I'm like, right, I really want to do this with SIPs. That was already with SIPs in mind. Reality is detailing of SIPs is difficult, designing junctions is difficult, and I'm just giving all this information in case anyone's considering it. Large floor spans won't work, so I had to actually readdress the design in terms of not using floor panels. I had to use beams instead of SIPs panels, which is basically a sandwich panel with foam. You'll see in a minute, sandwich panel, layer of plywood essentially on either side. This is a drawing that represents the structural design. The only panels that are missing out of this is the roof, because the roof was also done, but as you can see, I had to do the beams instead of the floor panels. So there was some loss in efficiency there because obviously the floor isn't insulated with that beautiful sandwich panel. Next slide is boring, but it's just another technical slide, sorry, the one after this actually, just a technical slide about what was required. This is basically doing the job of the SIPs manufacturer. I had to work out all the different heights and lengths and blah, 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 and I did that parametrically, and that's all boring. That's the SIPs coming to site. That's my beautiful shipping container up there on the left-hand side. So the shipping container made its way to site. I'm using it as a shed. And yeah, panels came on site. Fortunately, I found a builder who knew what he was doing, had built a SIPs house just up the hill, so that was amazing. Had the right builder. He did a fantastic job. I minimised use of steel, so I used big LVL beams. There's an LVL that's about that high that runs across the garage, so yes, I saved on steel. And this picture here gives a really good idea about the thermal envelope. So that's the roof junction up there, and that's one big SIPs panel coming to the ridge beam, and before obviously the other ones come along. So that gives you an idea of what it looks like. You have to chamfer for the SIPS panel to make it, that angle, which you can see this builder's doing down here. And other than that, you've got a few cuts in the panels which create these things that you need to do, conduits for cabling and stuff, although there's inbuilt conduit locations, but you have to break through sometimes. They generally fill that with foam to block it up. So you've got this very, I'm way over, it's a very much a thermal envelope. So you can see there, that's another example of it. Anyway, skipping forward, we can just smash through these slides. That's it under construction. Yeah. You can just skip. The main thing is that it's colourful, it's warm, it's great to occupy. Technically speaking, hate to step on eggshells, I hope I'm not going to aggravate anyone with this little point, but I do want to make it. I may have twisted my star rating. So star ratings are not everything. And I'm being recorded, so I should be careful what I'm saying, because I am a designer. But this house is beautiful to occupy. Technically, I have a low star rating, but reality is I knew what I was doing, I understood orientation, I was confident in my design, I knew that the amount of energy coming in via the sun and the way the windows would perform would create a nice house, and that's what I've got. So don't worry about star ratings too much. And that's it.